Hey guys, welcome to the live stream. So glad you're able to be here with me. If you're just now joining, I'm just now starting. So we'll go ahead and kind of pick up where we left off last week. And I'm trying to remember everything that I was doing last time when I started the portrait. That was months ago. And so last time I was trying to figure out which color palette to use. And I don't have to figure it all out at one time. I can figure out the next layer, and then I can just keep going. So I was trying to go in this direction of some of the highlights and grab some of this these yellow ochre kind of colors that I'm seeing in here. And I think I'm just going to continue in that direction with this particular layer. So some of the lighter colors will be my ivory and yellow ochre. And then I may even add in some white in there. And I just sort of penciled in a little bit of the white in certain areas where I'm noticing that it needs to be a little bit brighter. So thanks for joining. If you're just now joining, I appreciate it. And if you have any questions while we're drawing, just be sure and ask those. Make sure I have my sound turned up. If you ask a question, I should be able to... I need to sharpen this pencil. I should be able to hear the question. When you ask the question, inside of Restream, the software that I'm using, it typically will... now, just had a pencil break. It typically will go ahead and give me the text-to-speech. That's pretty accurate. Okay. I just had my ivory pencil break. See if I can fix that real quick. There we go. So that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's aggravating. Okay. And I'll start out sort of this wide angle, and as we progress, I will probably zoom in here a little bit so we can see more details of what I'm working on. Trying to get used to these new glasses I'm wearing too. Sort of a challenge. All right. Well, the other challenge is forgetting to turn on that camera. With this particular technology I'm using, I have to turn on the camera and it'll start recording, which is a separate function than the streaming option. So now it's on. We should be good to go. All right. Yeah, if I don't at least suggest where these highlights are early on, then what can happen is I can start getting all of my values sort of out of whack. Just start going lighter in certain areas that I shouldn't be going lighter in, and darker in areas as well. But I don't want any kind of marks out here that I've already made when I was just suggesting where these darker marks might be, or lighter marks might be, rather. I don't want them to dictate to me. Yeah, so got a question here from Pat. Thanks, Pat, watching over on YouTube. And Pat is asking, is the UART a very fine grain? Saying that it looks similar to Pastel matte. It is similar in that it is a non-absorbent surface. And the one that I'm using, this is a 600 grit, so I use the 600 or 800. The 800 I like a lot for the non-dark, the beige colored Pastel matte, the beige colored UART sanded paper. But for this dark UART sanded paper, I went with the 600 rather than 800, only because it seemed like it seemed like there was even less tooth on it, so I needed just a little bit more tooth than what that 800 was giving me. But yeah, for the beige, the 800 is beautiful. Very nice to work on. Got that just a little bit lighter than what I wanted, but I want to make sure that that's smooth over there as well. That's a great question, though, Pat. I wonder if you've tried the Pastel Mat. I like the Pastel Mat quite a bit, but it is there are some definite differences in working on it and working on sanded paper. Okay. That's probably good enough for right now, especially if, and I haven't made up my mind yet, but probably will do this, but especially if you're going to spray a fixative, a workable fixative on top of this and then keep going and adding layers. I don't have to be extremely exact and minute with my details because it's one layer and I'm going to keep adding more and more layers if that is the case. Even if it's not a first pass through, I don't have to be real exact on every single mark that I'm making. I have to make sure that it's pretty accurate, but don't have to be married to the mark, so to speak. Good morning, Diane. Good to see you over here. Awesome. Diane just recently joined the monthly sharpener, so glad to have you over there, Diane. I look at all of you guys who are joining the monthly sharpener as sort of early pioneers in what we're doing over there. We've got some great admins that are helping out over there, or moderators rather, and I'm excited about what we're going to be able to do in the future over there on that platform. I believe, Diane, you're also in the Sharpened Artist Academy as well. Ah, cool, Pat. So Pat is saying that, so you're using Pastel Mat. Yeah, I don't know why that is, that there's just certain things that are more difficult to obtain over there than others. But it's the way it goes, I guess, sometimes, huh? Oh, good morning, Ramona. Ramona is, I see Ramona and a few others as our alum members inside the Sharpened Artist Academy, also in the monthly sharpener. So I'm so excited that she's here able to join us. No, I've not done that yet, Nick. Nick's asking if I've tried the Lux Archival sanded paper. Have you been able to try it yet, Nick? That would be cool. I'm excited. I want to try it. I have not done that yet, though. Got to smooth out this chin.
I love Pastel Mat, and it is easier on the pencils.
Yeah, that's true, Diane. Diane is saying over on YouTube live stream that she's loving Pastel Mat, and it's easier on the pencils. I'm guessing what she's really talking about is it's not chewing up your pencils as much. Okay, that's probably smooth enough at this point. Some of these little tick marks that I'm seeing over here where the lighter pencil is not as smoothed out, I don't have to worry about that a whole lot. I can worry about that later. So there we go. Ah, very cool, Nick. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. That's a little too light right in there for me right at the moment, but that's all right. I can spread that out just a little bit by lengthening that light area. And when I do that, I can lighten up on my pressure as I move away from that area. Somebody told me recently that, they're in one of my courses, and they talked about how they're going to be taking some workshops here in the new year, and they met with one of their teachers, the teacher, I guess, that they're taking the workshop from, or had some correspondence with them. And they indicated that they don't talk a whole lot about pencil pressure, and it's a colored pencil, which to me, pencil pressure is really a big deal, and figuring out how much pencil pressure to use at each stage of the process, the drawing process. It really is something that you've got to get figured out for yourself, because there's a lot of factors involved, obviously, but pencil pressure is a big one with regard to colored pencil. If I just pushed really hard right now, then I would limit a lot of the options that I have available to me, and I don't want to really do that. I want to make sure that I have more options instead of fewer options as I progress through the piece. And I always want to think in that direction, that I'm going to try to reserve and make sure that I can reverse things and just have more options available. That always seemed to be a more appealing thing in art than less options, and in anything really, right? I mean, I don't want to limit my options. I want to increase my options. Okay. So if I can determine where some of the pinnacles in these areas are, and if I can zoom in here just a little bit and look at this chin a little bit closer, I could say, and it will still work out even if it isn't true, but I could determine that this area right in here, I don't know if you can see that very well, that area needs to be my pinnacle in this feature. And so if I could say, okay, I'm going to make that brighter then right here, and everything else less so, then what I've done is I've created some dimension and some curve, and it makes it look less flat, makes it look more like, you know, a sculpture, if you will. I mean, that's what I'm going for. I'm wanting something to sort of pop off the page, but I want it to also be subtle. I don't want it to scream off the page. You know, I want it to be a subtle hint that there is more curve in one area over another. Because I really like the way that it's recessed over here, and I've got some darker values over here on the edge of the face. And I'm not really showing and depicting that right now, but I will in time, and I want to make sure that I remember that as I progress through the piece. If I don't remember that, and I don't keep thinking about it once in a while at least, then I may forget that, and I may just get all excited about firing in a whole bunch of white in one area, or a bunch of lighter colors. And then when I come over there to that edge, and I look at what I've done, I may have trouble getting it back to a darker value. Or I may just forget altogether what I was trying to do. Okay, I think I've built that up enough right there. I'll smooth that out just a little bit. The other nice thing about using UART sanded paper and pastel matte to a lesser degree as well is that I can be less controlled. I can use sloppy form. Mark making can be a little more relaxed and sloppy. I hate using that word, but that's really kind of what it is. And it's not going to destroy what I'm trying to do, because the tooth is something that I'm always concerned with, like if I'm on a cotton paper like Stonehenge. But I'm less concerned about the tooth on a non-absorbent surface like this. Hey, good morning, Brenda. Thanks for joining. Brenda's over on Facebook Live. All right. Brenda is also one of our moderators over in the Monthly Sharpener. So if you've not been able to join us over there, we'd love to have you join us inside that community. Okay. Let me see here. I think I should move along and not linger there a whole lot. So I can come up here, work my way up again. Kind of going in the opposite direction here than I typically do. I typically start at the top over here, top left, and work my way down. But that's the way it goes sometimes. Hey, Carol, how are you? Thanks for joining over on YouTube Live. Good to see you. Okay. And one thing I normally don't do is experiment directly on my project. But with UART, sometimes I do that because I know I can change it if I need to. And I get so impatient when I'm working on the forehead. And I really feel like, just grabbing finger paint and finishing it up or something, because I just get so impatient with what's going on up here. It feels like it's going to take forever. But I have to remind myself that if I'm just a little bit patient, I can work on it for a little while, and then I can move away from that area and come back to it again when I get irritated. I'm using all these negative terms. When I get tired of some other area, then I can come back up to the forehead later on. Here we go. Come back down in here and work on this area a little bit more. Really, I do need to build up all these lighter areas everywhere else first. That area is bothering me again. This needs to be brighter. I want to see a brighter area right here, sort of on this area of the face, so that I can say this plane over here actually is closer to us than when it turns and has a dimensional side over here that is curving over to that that side plane of the head. Okay. Build this up just a little bit more. And I really need to build this up more. I need to sharpen this pencil though. This pencil's about done though. Not much left on it, which is the way it goes sometimes. Okay. When I'm feeling this surface, and that I think is a big part of it, is to sort of gauge how much pressure you can add to the tip of the pencil. But when I'm feeling the way that this surface is taking the pencil, it's really telling me that, I'm nearly done. The pencil's saying, I can't do what you're asking me to do. I can't put any more on here. And because that's the case, and I'm using a soft lead, using this Derwent Chinese white, Derwent Drawing pencil. And because of that, then I probably will spray this after we're done today, because I want to be able to put more layers on there. That is not opaque enough right in here. And I'm not going to get it more opaque just by pressing harder. There's just a certain amount that it will take, and then after a while it's going to build, just start digging up prior layers if I keep trying to just press harder. Which is a mistake that I see a lot of people make, is they'll just try to press harder sometimes, and it will dig up subsequent layers that they've already laid down. So Pat over on YouTube is asking what type of pencil sharpener, what make is the pencil sharpener. So I'm using the AF-Matte pencil sharpener. It's the blue and black one. It looks like this. I do have... There's another one they make that looks like this, and it's fine as well. It's a good sharpener. But I think I prefer that less expensive one that is blue and gray, blue and black, and it just works really, really well. Okay. They also make a manual one, and I don't have that one. I've heard people talk about how much they enjoy that one as well. And there may be some people out here, some of the artists that are joining us right now live, they may use that one. I'm not sure. But is there a particular pencil sharpener that you're using, Pat, that you like? Or are you in the market? Or are you like the rest of us and we just buy every pencil sharpener we can? That's what I find myself doing. And sometimes I need a sharpener that will give me sort of a blunt point.
Hello from Scotland.
Hey, Harry. Harry from Scotland over on Facebook. Thanks for joining us. How are you? Hello from Cincinnati area.
And black take thicker pencils. I have the solid black one, but cannot use for all pencils.
Yeah.
Both and love both.
Yeah, Ramona, it will take...
Every pencil sharpener we can to buy.
Right. Yeah, we use all the sharpeners, right, Diane? Yeah, Ramona, it does take the larger barreled pencils. It'll take the Derwent Drawing, for instance, and Luminance by Karen Dosh. So, yeah, that's what I love about it. Okay. One of the things I love about it. Not the only thing. Let me count the ways I love you, right? There's so many. The best thing is it gives you that very nice point, that long point, That's what I love. Oh, thank you, Carol. She says she loves the way it's coming to life. I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, Pat. You've got one that's misbehaving, huh? That's no good. Hate it when my toys act up. All right. Yeah, if you've got a pencil sharpener that is snapping pencils, it might be time to part ways. Might be time for a separation, right? There's a lot of pink in here that I'm ignoring at the moment, and I'll come back in there later on and put that in. Right now, I'm just trying to get back in here and establish the bright areas. Now this pencil was not depositing much pigment a little while ago. But then after I sharpened it and I started rotating it around just a little bit, it started depositing more of the pigment onto the surface. And sometimes that happens. It's a weird thing, but part of the characteristics of colored pencil. That's just the way this medium is sometimes. Okay. I got a little carried away there with the white. I just got all excited that it was finally depositing on the surface. So I can tap that back, no problem at all. So it's also kind of weird for me to work in this opposite way a little bit. I have to reprogram my brain a little and think about putting in the light colors rather than taking away light colors with dark pencils. I'm doing the opposite, which is so odd sometimes. Yeah, and sometimes I'm just not getting that quite right. So let's see. I can try this Ruby Earth. Push that back just a little bit. There's only so much I can take off by tapping with an eraser or a sticky putty. And then I just have to go in the opposite direction with adding more of a dark pencil as a small layer here and there. There we go. Okay. So I need to identify, especially if I'm having trouble with an area and it's so abstract and I'm not sure what I'm drawing, then I need to identify kind of what that shape is when I look at it. And I can say, okay, what is it? Sort of like a little oblong shape. And if I can sort of identify it, even if I identify it with some words in my mind if I need to, and sort of think about it as some type of shape that I'm familiar with, like maybe an oval, something like that, or a square, a rectangle, circle, triangle, whatever, then sometimes it becomes easier to draw that shape, that area. So I come in here with my ivory pencil.
What brand of pencils are you using?
So Steve's asking what brand of pencils I'm using. I'm floating around a little bit, but primarily I'm using Polychromos by Faber-Castell, and I'm using the Derwent Lightfast pencils, and I'm using the Derwent Drawing pencils. I've also got, and I may use this one here in a minute, this Caran Pablo pencil, cream color. This is a nice pencil, and I may use that one here in a moment. I thought about it. I laid it out just in case I wanted to. Okay. This whole area needs a little lighter tint to it. And I don't want it to be as bright. I don't want it to compete with the area that I identified as the pinnacle in this area. But I still haven't built that up enough. Down here especially needs to be built up just a little bit more. There's a distance in here between where the bottom of the lip is and where that chin, the top of the chin, starts. And I want to make sure that I'm capturing that And so that when I look at it, and if the viewer's looking at it, they can tell there's where the chin is. You know, this is where the chin is, and then everything above that is underneath the bottom lip. If I can't identify it, then chances are the viewer can't identify it either. I need to know what I'm looking at. There we go. That's probably enough at the moment right in there. I'm always amazed at how much time has passed when I'm drawing. I don't know about you guys. You're probably the same way, right? Do you sit down and you start drawing, and then all of a sudden you look up and it's like, wow, 30 minutes went by, or an hour went by, or several hours went by.
Thanks. I think Polychromos are still my favorite. I also like the Derwent Drawing, especially their Chinese white. Don't have any Lightfast yet. Saving up.
Yeah, you're welcome, Steve. Over on Facebook, Steve is saying that he likes the Lightfast, or I'm sorry, the Polychromos the best, and saving up for the Lightfast pencils. Yeah, they're quickly becoming one of my favorite. The Derwent Lightfast are. I love the Derwent Drawing pencils as well. Not just the Chinese white. They're all really great pencils. And I feel like they're a good backup reserve for your Derwent Lightfast pencils. There's not a whole lot of difference in performance. They're very, very similar. And if I run out of one, chances are I've got the exact same color. For instance, Ruby Earth is one in particular. The Lightfast Ruby Earth is very similar to the Derwent Drawing Ruby Earth. So I like to keep those around as my backup pencils. But they're good just on their own. They're a very good pencil. And they're all Lightfast as well. The Derwent Drawing pencils are. They just don't get a whole lot of press for whatever reason. It seems like for whatever reason people have singled out the Derwent Drawing Chinese white. While it is a good pencil, all the pencils in the Derwent Drawing set are very nice. And I would highly encourage you, if you've not used any of the pencils except for the Chinese white in the Derwent Drawing set, to get a small set of those pencils and start using them. I think you might be delighted. And they're less expensive than the Derwent Lightfast pencils are. Okay, I'm getting quite a bit of pigment built up here. And I want to make sure that when I blow off with my air rocket some of what I've laid down, that I don't remove anything that's just laying there on the surface that I thought was on my paper. So after I blow it off, and I don't want to use as much pressure when I use the air rocket as I might otherwise, but after I use it, I want to look back at my surface and evaluate what's going on, how everything's doing, and make sure I didn't blow off a whole bunch. Sometimes that's happened to me in the past. Okay. I'm going to look and see what that looks like over on the screen. Sometimes it's easier to see it. There we go. Okay. So this needs a little more of that ochre color, and I also brought out this brown ochre to see how that might do. I can test it over here. Yeah, I do like that. Kind of gives me a very similar color to the yellow ochre. A little darker is all, so I like that. And I can use that sort of at the edges of areas that I've built up with the yellow ochre and ivory. I think that's what we did last time, I'm pretty sure. That's what it looks like. And if I remember correctly, that's what we did. So I can come back in here like that. Again, I'm trying to ignore any area that I think needs more purple or pink at the moment, because I can build that up later without any problem. But I'm more focused on these warm highlights and trying to establish sort of where all of that is at the moment. And also we're entering sort of that ugly stage a little bit, which I need to be okay with. And I need to just remember my goals for this piece and what it's going to look like by the time I'm done. Okay. Now this is why you do want to have a plan when you start out. You do want to know where you're headed, what direction you're going in. And you'll not know how to get there, or if you've ever arrived, right, if you don't have a plan at the very beginning. Okay, now I can probably use this over here on this side of the cheek. I can't hold the Derwent Lightfast pencil very, horizontally to the paper. I can't do a whole lot of this and shading on the side of the pencil and add pressure, because if I do, I'm going to break that pencil. I'm going to break that tip, and I've broken a lot of tips doing that. So I have to remember, if I need more pressure, to hold it more vertically than what I was trying to do. And sometimes we just intuitively will start adding pressure, not thinking about what we're doing, and snap, all of a sudden we've broken the tip of our pencil, and we may create a little divot in our project because we're trying to press too hard when we're doing that, and we're not thinking consciously about it. We're just sort of subconsciously thinking, I want this darker right here. And that's the danger, though, is that we can break the pencil when we're doing that, because we're accidentally just pressing harder. We're not even aware we're doing it. Okay, looking kind of scary over there. I need to fix that. All right. I want to get this little edge right in here, though. It has more of that ochre color right in there. And I can come in this other direction a little bit, and that will help to smooth out any of those pencil strokes that may be showing up. And yeah, I kind of like that. I think that's looking a little more accurate right there as far as the skin tone is concerned. The skin, the pores, the look of the skin right in there. Okay. It's probably enough right in there. And let's see. I need to sharpen this. The other thing nice about that AFMAT sharpener is it stops sharpening once the pencil reaches its maximum point, which is nice. I don't have to sit there and think about, what it's doing. It will stop on its own. And I try to look for that in a sharpener, something that will do that. Talking about electric sharpeners. I don't think any manual ones do that very much. They do to a certain extent, but not like an electric sharpener will. Okay, so I want to extend that brown ochre just a little bit and lightening up on my pressure to the tip of the pencil as I lengthen that area of pigment that I'm applying. That will give me what I call in the beginner's colored pencil course, I call that a single color fade. What's really a multicolor fade, because I'm fading into another area, which is an important concept when we're talking about applying and techniques of colored pencil. It's one of the ways we can get a smooth gradation in our values and in our colors as well. Okay. Now I don't necessarily even have to, I don't have to see something in the piece that tells me to do this, to go darker in that direction over here. I don't have to see that in my reference. I can do that anyway, because if I know enough about the way the anatomy works over there, then I know that's allowable, that's acceptable, and it will enhance the way that my portrait will look by the time I'm done. And so I always want to keep that in mind, that if I know these principles of portraiture anyway, then why not do that? Why not change what I'm seeing on the reference to better suit a viewing experience that someone can enjoy when they look at it? They can tell where the edge of the face is starting to curve, that kind of thing. And that's what I'm going for. Now, you can get carried away with it, certainly, but it's something that I think is nice to be able to use and to do on portraits. It adds just a little something, I think. I want to get that little edge over here by the, well, you can't see it probably, but I want to get that little edge over here on the other side of the eye. That's a nice feature to always include. Not to cut the eye off and to have the eye sticking out. You can do that, but it's a little more compelling, I think, in my opinion, to have just that little edge over there in this rotation of the head. Okay. I'll check my image, see what that's looking like. That's looking better. Okay, now I can come over here on the other side of where this highlight area is, and I can add more of this brown ochre over here and in this direction. So it's sort of like this Terminator line where the edge of the highlight is, and it's going in the other direction into a shadow, from highlight to a shadow. And I want to surround that a little bit with this brown ochre color. There we go. Okay. See, this is lighter in value right in here than what I've got so far. So I can put more of that brown ochre in here. And down in here. Let's see, right in there a little bit more. Yeah, so this value, I have to I have to look at that value and sort of determine if it is as dark as the side plane of the face over here, which it's probably a little bit lighter than what's over here. It looks just as dark or darker, and I think only because over here I'm surrounded by some light areas than I am on that side of the face. Nevertheless, if I make this area right in here by the tear duct, by this inner corner of the eye, if I make that brighter than the side plane of the face, then that will follow the rules of light, right? And that's allowable. That's okay. That's something that will make sense, right, when the viewer is looking at the drawing. Okay, add more over here. We've got a little rough spot right here in my paper. Not sure what that is. Little imperfection right in here. I can get rid of that a little bit just by tapping that back, and then by being very careful in that area. There we go. Now I need to remember that that's there.
Hi everybody, hugging face.
Oh, hey Kelly, how are you? Thanks for joining over on YouTube. There we go. Okay. I'm ignoring the neck, I noticed so far, so I gotta put a little of this down here in the neck. And I don't have the highlight in there. I may not, I may not put as bright of a highlight in there as what I see. I probably won't. I can always get away with having the neck darker than the overall tones and values of the face, because three-dimensionality would dictate that it is darker. It's not always darker, but I can get away with that. That's another thing I can sort of cheat on, if we will, if you'll allow me to use that expression, cheat. I can pretend like it's darker, and it will make sense to the viewer. Okay, so I need a lighter pencil. And so I need to determine, am I going to make it as bright now? Maybe try this pencil and see what that does. This is a brown ochre, I think 50% in the luminance line. That didn't look too good. How about this one? I can try this. This is that titanium buff, I think it is. Let me see here. Olive brown. That's what this one is. It's so hard to read the name designations on these pencils. For me, it is. Okay. I need the geriatric version of the pencils. They don't make that, by the way. I'm just kidding. But I need it to say in big, bold, maybe red or black letters what the name is. I'm cracking myself up. Okay. So I can add, this is working fine though. I can add this lighter color over here.
And smiling face with smiling eyes. Hello everybody.
There we go.
Very glad to join in today.
Hey, Sergio. Thanks for joining. Okay, I didn't want to do that. That's a little bit too bright right there. Make that a little darker. Let's see. I can remove some of those lines that I put in there. All right. Okay, so that's, part of the freedom with the neck, though, is it's like kind of like the forehead. If you get tired of it, or if I get tired of it, I just leave it. Leave it for another day. and I'm about tired of it. Like, okay, that's enough for right now. I don't have to focus on it. I can focus on it later if I want to. Okay, so this, I'm looking back up here at the nostril. I want to make sure that I have a clear highlight in here. That's right in here. There we go. And down here. Okay. That's a little bit better. So I can come back in that other direction now. Push that over in that other direction. And blend that together. Because I've got white over here. And then I've got this competing brown ochre. So I can take this ivory Polychromos color and sort of blend that together.
What are you going to spray the forehead with to take more layers?
So Diane's asking what I'm going to spray the forehead with to take more layers. Probably just Krylon workable fixative. Is probably what I'll do. It's worked in the past. It's worked for me for several years, and I've not had any problems with it. So I probably will use that again. Okay. So from time to time, I want to just kind of stop and evaluate and look at it, you know. Try to figure out, okay, what's going on right now? What's working and what isn't, you know.
First time I read the names on mine, I was pretty sure one of them was called Primal Rage. It was Prime Rose.
Sergio Man is talking about the name designations. Yeah, that it is easy to misunderstand what the names are or misread them because they're just so tiny, and the script, the lettering is written, you know, it's printed on there in either gold or silver script, and it's just so hard sometimes to see it. I better look and see what I'm using here. I'm using yellow ochre. I don't want to do that. I want to use my brown ochre. Now that was a little bit too bright in that area, so I'm going to go back to the yellow ochre, even that out just a little bit. Let's see if I can tap that back a little bit. That may not show up real well on camera. You may not be able to see some of that. Actually, let me zoom in here a little bit more so that you can see a little bit more of the detail that I'm talking about. There we go. A lot of times if somebody's new to colored pencil or coming back to art or new to art in general, and they'll go through one layer like this, and then they'll think, well, that's not applying very smoothly. I can still see a whole lot of pencil strokes in here, and they'll stop after that and say, I guess that's the way it's going to look, you know, or that's just the way that looks, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. But there is a lot that can be done about that, and I'm not satisfied with just having a whole bunch of linear strokes everywhere. The more that I apply layers of pencil and move the pencil, this linear stroke, in different directions, the smoother it's going to appear. It's going to look. And so I always want to keep that in mind, that I'm going to have a finished product that will look smooth if I don't give up, if I don't just stop, you know. If I stop too soon and I say, okay, I'm done, I guess that's just what it's going to look like. Then I've limited my options and my opportunities. And I am not sure, I think a lot of times the reason why people may do that is because they're just not sure yet what the medium is capable of. And with layering, I mean, that's really the power of colored pencil. With layering, you can get something to look very, very smooth, and you can build up all these values slowly over time. That is the power of colored pencil. The pressure matters, the point of the pencil matters, and layering, that layering process matters so, so much. Yeah, pencil's so dull again. Yeah, Sergi says, or the paper stops you. Yeah, that's true. But there are some options with that too, right? Like I can spray it, create a whole new surface to use on top of what I'm doing, But yeah, you can pick a paper that just doesn't allow for that type of technique, and then you have to modify your technique and do something that paper surface will allow for. I think I want to go ahead and put a layer of this brown ochre over here, even though that will push it in more of a yellow direction than what I'll be happy with right now. That's okay, because I want that to be a little more pink and purple, but it's not bad to have that layer underneath there of that ochre, this brown ochre. Okay. Well, I don't know what it's like where you guys are right now, but it snowed last night and through the night. And I don't know how much we got exactly, but I think it's probably maybe an inch and a half, maybe a couple inches. I don't know. It always seems like it depends on what part of the city you're in. The weatherman will say, or if you look at your app, it'll say anywhere from like 1/4 of an inch to 4 inches, depending on where you are. Okay.
It did nothing last night in Romania.
Oh, yeah? It didn't snow in Romania? That's funny. What time is it over there, Sergi man?
It's cold here in the UK and we had a power cut this morning, so no heating.
Oh no, Carol. Carol's saying no power over there where she is in the UK. That's no good. Sorry to hear that. On a sanded surface, though, you feel like that you're working with a different medium, especially if you're used to using colored pencil on more traditional paper. It really does feel like you're using a different medium, like maybe pastel. Okay. All right.
It is almost 6 in the evening and I am preparing the surface for my final holiday commission, which will
Oh.
last for a good while.
Ah, Sergio, nearly 6, huh? In the evening, and you're preparing for another commission, preparing your surface. Interesting. Very cool. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. That's such an exciting thing to do commissions. I love, I love the feeling of doing commissions. That is, it's just so enjoyable to um, to be able to please someone in that way. And I tell you, with all the pain and the headache that sometimes go along with doing commissions, those can be easily forgotten when you get a nice letter from someone, or you get a video from them where they presented the commission that you created to a loved one. It's so fun. Okay. It's looking very uneven up here, which is okay. I have to remind myself that's all right. If I keep turning that pencil just a little bit, then more of it will deposit on the surface as well. Okay, I nearly need a pencil. I need something sort of in between this color that I can use to help smooth out some of that. Let's see here. I think I may have found it. I think I'm gonna switch.
To start pleasing myself for a bit.
Yeah,
Artistically speaking.
yeah, Sergio, talking about it's time to start pleasing yourself a little bit, doing work that you want to do, and I totally understand that. Yep. Yeah, while you're doing all these commissions, you're not building up your own body of work, which can be something that, when you look back on it, like, wow, all these opportunities to draw, and I was doing it for someone else. There's definitely that. Okay, I need to turn my hand just a little bit to work in a different direction a little bit so I can smooth out all these areas and not press quite as hard, using more of like a medium pressure.
On the horizon after Christmas. Are you happy with the detail you can get with sanded paper? Trying to decide what surface to use for a commission where the dog's coat is very light and there are smaller pictures of the dog in different poses included in the corners of the piece.
Yeah, Brenda is asking about over on Facebook about getting details with the sanded paper and talking about a commission. I think you may have emailed me on that. That's exciting.
What color are you using and is that Luminance?
I can get a lot of details, actually, Brenda, with sanded paper. Not at the beginning. I have to keep applying the pencils. Just keep going with the pencils. And over time, I'll reach that point where I need to burnish. I need to go even harder with my pencil pressure. Or, like I mentioned, I can spray it, or I can spray it and get more tooth on there if I need a little more area, need a little more tooth to build up some areas. So that's an option for me. And Diane is asking over on YouTube, what color I'm using is that Luminance. Yes, this is the burnt sienna 10%. So I'm more using this to, it's a term I call brush. I brush the layers together is kind of what I'm doing right here. I'm just kind of smoothing out that area to make sure I don't have, a whole bunch of lines. I don't want those linear strokes to show through and, a whole lot, and to make it look funny or make the eye travel in that way, to look at a linear stroke and then say, oh, because of that, I'm distracted by that. It doesn't look like smooth skin, and I'm going to focus in that area, and maybe the eye will even, of the viewer, will travel down that linear stroke, that path that you created inadvertently. And I don't ever really want that, so I'm trying to sort of smooth that out a little bit. And the nice thing, this would never work doing it in this way, using this technique, this form of holding the pencil in this way on Stonehenge paper. I would flatten out the tooth, which would be a disaster. But it does work on this sanded paper, which makes it so exciting, I think. Because I've already built up some other layers of pencil, I've got this tone now that is very similar to that burnt sienna color. And so that's a nice thing to have, where I can, come back in there and just use that burnt sienna as sort of my blending layer. Now, these areas on the face over here in the shadow where I've not built up a whole lot of layers yet, when I start putting down this pencil in this area, then I'm seeing more of the strokes over here. And that's okay. I just have to remember that I don't have as many layers down yet. And once I do get more layers, it will look okay. I'm running across that little imperfection, that little bump in the paper again. It's over here somewhere. I felt it a little while ago. There it is. It's over here. Interesting. Now I'm going to have to fight with that the entire time. That happens sometimes. It's kind of rare on UART paper that I get that. I think mostly because of the way that it is, the way that they put the grit, on the surface. The way that it's applied, I think, eliminates a lot of that, but once in a while you still will get that. I need to sharpen that. Okay. I'm using very light pressure over here where I don't have really any layers underneath on this side of the face. Very, very light pressure. You don't know that by the way I'm holding the pencil. It's hard to tell what kind of pressure I'm using right there. And this is the reason why I recommend, if you're new and starting out, not to hold the pencil this way. Do as I say, not as I do, right? But hold it so that you know the control of the pencil, and hold it way over here towards the opposite end of the pencil when you want light pressure, and then choke up on the pencil when you want hard pressure. Yeah, so Sergio is asking a great question. Says, do you still feel the excitement of buying a single pencil shade or even pack of some pencils you've already gotten? It never gets old for me. Yeah, me too. Me too. I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah. It's exciting. I mean, just anytime you're getting something new, it doesn't even matter what it is with art, does it? To me, it doesn't. I mean, it's just like, even if it's not a complete color line of pencils, even if it's, I don't know, just a new eraser or something, it's still exciting. It's like, all right, a new toy that I get to play with. Okay. If you look at that, I mean, in some ways, you know, if you're looking on this side of the face and you look over here, it may look like the pencil I'm using is white or is a very bright pencil compared to the dark area of the paper around it, but it's not. I mean, you can see this is this burnt sienna color, but it appears that way due to its being so conspicuous in this area. It is sticking out like a sore thumb because there's nothing else around here right now.
Nice brush work, John.
Diane says, nice brush work, John. Thank you. Yeah, oh, it's funny.
Have you had any experiences using Pastel Matte?
That's what I say, is that, you know, I'm brushing it, so I appreciate that comment. That's what it feels like, is like I'm brushing it here. Sergio is asking if I've had any experience using Pastel Matte. Yeah, Pastel Matte is one of my favorite surfaces. I love Pastel Matte. Actually, inside the color pencil painting with water course, the first project that we do in there is on Pastel Matte. Okay. Well, you know, I feel like we've got some ground here that we have actually covered. We actually pushed this piece, I feel like, in a good direction today. Obviously, we're not there yet, and looks like I just messed up that eye pretty good. That was brilliant. I need to get that little roadmap line up here back for myself. There we go. So I'm going to stop here in just a moment, and I think I'm happy with where I am right here. And I'm going to save. I'm going to put it away, and I'm going to save it for next week. So I hope that you'll join me again next week. And we'll pick up where we left off again. And I think I'll take these pencils and stick them over here with this project as well, so that I don't forget which pencils I was using. Sometimes I just need somebody to handcuff my hands and say, stop, you're done at this moment. Quit while you're ahead. Because you know how that is. You just keep going. So. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks for joining today. Really, I had a lot of fun drawing with you today. So thanks, guys. Hope you have a great day and a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.